Okay. Sorry. Okay. I'm recording now. Hi everyone. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. We are in the week three of CEO month, and this week we have Shola here with us. He's the CEO at Brass, and this evening he'll be sharing around product discovery, product launch, product growth, and how it affects like the team, or let's say how a cross-functional team can come together to ensure that all these things happen like within a company or an organization or a product team or whatever. So thank you, Shola, again for joining us this evening, and we look forward to hearing from you. But first of all, I would like you to introduce yourself to us so we can know you better. We just know that you're the CEO of Brass, but maybe just give us like a history or backup or something. Just introduce yourself, please. Shola.
Thank you very much, Princess. My name is Shola. I started and I run Brass with a good friend of mine, Emmanuel. We've been there for about a year. We've been doing that for about a year. Um, I have been doing products prior to Brass, I think, for 8 years. So I started out in 2013, 2012 actually. I started in 2012, and I had my first product job at Euroco. I don't know if anyone Euroco TV. So I did that for about 2 years, and then I've just had a series of experience in products, and after some time I decided to start my own company, which I did last year.
Okay.
That's background. Prior to that, I'm an electrical. I studied electrical engineering. If anyone is interested in that information, I finished in 2011, 2010, 11. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for that. At least some other people now know that extra information. Of course, let's just get straight to it. So, today's discussion is around three very important parts of a product development process, which is from discovery stage to the launch stage to the growth stage, and how everything comes together working with cross-functional teams. I know you have a lot to share today, but we'll be working together, and I'll be asking some questions that would allow you express yourself better. And of course, you have the liberty to say any extra thing or add any extra thing to what I have asked. They are just like basic guidelines to help us understand better. And at the end of your sharing, people in the audience who have questions for you would go ahead and ask. So from the first one, let's look at product discovery. What do you think should be the ideal process around the ideation stage? Like, what do you think is the ideal process? There are so many things to look out for, so many materials, resources, information out there around product discovery stage. What do you think is the ideal process, or can you just share around that?
Um, it depends. Really, that's actually a very interesting question. It depends on the type of work you want to do, right? So a lot of things have broken in the world. A lot of things are broken in the world, and there are some very interesting ways on how you can discover some of those things. For instance, in enterprise or in SaaS, if you want to sort of like build for enterprise, I'll tell you a very easy way to do that is to intern in a big company that is very slow. Just intern in a big company and see the things that see a very, very insane bad process where they move files around or something that is really broke. Like think about it. Like imagine you join NNPC for instance, and you see how things work within NNPC. You see a whole lot of things that you can build because what you understand is that when you can, if you can fix that process, a whole lot of big organizations can look at that and you can sort of like sell that to many companies, right? So and then other things also include figuring out um, what what you believe should be the new customer expectations for a particular category, and realizing that no one is meeting that particular expectation and filling in that gap. So for instance, for brass, I knew that I traveled to a few places, I have played with a few things, and I realized that business banking in this part of the world was very, very broken. Most people are not even aware. Even the people that are like businesses don't even know that what they have is nonsense. Like they are actually living in the past. So I knew that if we could build something that can fill that gap where we can show them what is possible, then it's going to be very interesting proposition to these businesses, and we're going to be able to sort of like build. We can discover the right kind of product for them. Does
Okay,
that make
thank
any
you.
sense?
Yes, it does, but I want to connect it to the efforts with cross-functional teams. So at this stage of the product, like, are you bringing everyone in to say their bits, or you have just a selected few who would be in this discovery or ideation stage, or it's everybody on the team? What's your ideal process like?
For me, I am always very wary about trying to pull in too many people because I my philosophy around things, and I mean for anyone that works with me, I don't sometimes you I don't believe in democracy so much in some things. You can't be democratic sometimes. There are some ideas that you know to be very correct, and if you know, if you bring in praisers or anything to sort of like discuss that with you and sort of like figuring out how to really work, it's going to become into argument of what they think, I think, you think. Sometimes you just have to stick to what you know and go for it, right? Um, but of course, generally, when you're trying to go through that particular thing, you want to involve your marketing person, your sales person, because the sales guy is going to sell the product, right? You want to involve a few things, but whatever they have to say does not have to really like what you think is what you think, really.
Okay, but we all know that the popular opinions out there are around the fact that every single person who is going to work on the product, every single person at the company should be at the round table meeting where these things are being discussed at the very early stage. And your opinion says, okay, just pick a few people. Do you have like the specific roles that these few people would be handling, or you just pick based on your intuition?
So I think I get where you're going with that question. With that question, like we're working on a new product today right now, and it's just me, it's just me and a designer that is actually like figuring it out together. Literally, engineering hasn't seen it, marketing hasn't seen it. It's just the two of us asking questions and sort of like figuring out how to really
Hello, is that my network? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear from my end.
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay.
going back and
Um,
forth around it. And it can be that simple, really. I
sorry,
think some
we
sorry,
we lost you at some point. Your network. Sorry.
yeah, sorry, I saw that. I actually paused. Uh what was I saying? So I think you can bring everyone to the table to sort of like bring in the ideas. But what I usually know, what I've seen in my own experience, and it could be the wrong answer as well, is that you too many, like they say, too many cooks spoil the soup. Like everybody just comes in and but for me, I just do it differently. Really, I actually just do it differently.
Okay, noted. Everyone is different, and this brings me to the next question. You've worked on several products before Brass, like you've worked as a product person, and now you're also an entrepreneur, a CEO of a company. So you have like the whole product experience. So the next question would be like relatable. So we have this new work culture that started last year because of the pandemic. So we're working from home now. A lot of teams are working from home. Brass team also works remotely as well. So do you think that has affected productivity in line with how the cross-functional teams relate? Sorry about that. Because you can see that maybe a certain part of the company, maybe let's say the marketing team, they know how to communicate with themselves. This other team, they know how to communicate with themselves. And maybe we're preparing for maybe the launch of a product. How do you think these teams can come together to improve on productivity, seeing that there's a new style of working that a lot of companies have embraced?
I think it depends on the type of organization that you are operating, and also depends on the kind of tools that you have really. Um, I have never liked working at the office, even when I had a regular job. I hated office work. So my default mode is to work from home. So actually, that's the truth. Um, when we launched Browse, I was in the US. 3 months into the business, I was in the US. 6 months before we launched, I was in the US. And so the pre-launch, launch, post-launch, I was not even available. I was 6 hours behind Lagos, and no one died. Do you understand? I don't think it is necessary. I think as long as you have the right tools, you have Slack, you have the right project management tools, you have all the things that you need to sort of like exchange ideas, preserve those ideas, communicate your execution. You don't really need to see anyone's face, or they don't need to be by your side to execute. There are a few instances, however, where you realize that you need someone to be in the same room for a quick exchange of energy. Like you just want to sort of like bump things together. And in those cases, Slack is not good. You just need that person in front of you so that you can sort of like quickly have on the spot ideas. And we sometimes do that at Brass, right? Um, like next week, I know that I want to see marketing team in the office. I want to sort of like I have there's a way I'm looking at that team. I can see the person on this call. So I want to sort of like be in the same room with them. That particular, I just want to like, hey, I have some ideas in my head, and I can't exchange these ideas over Slack. I want to see you. Do you understand? But other than that, if once that is done, if that has been executed, I don't have to see you for another 1 month or 2 months or 3 months. If yeah, I think, and the interesting thing is this, right? With the whole work from home thing, bigger organizations are doing it right now, and they are doing very well. So I really think it all boils down to the way the organization is being run, the tools that you have at your disposal, and making sure that you continue to communicate. When you are working from home, the most important thing you must do is that you must communicate. In fact, you need to over communicate. At Braz, if people are going for break, you tell your team, I'm going for a lunch break. That over communication is very, very important because nobody can see you. If you're not telling us that you're going for a lunch break, I'm going to assume you're online. I'm going to assume you're by your computer. So you need to sort of like have that excessive communication and making sure it works. As long as you have that, you run a successful team, whether you see them or not. And it is fine. And I think generally it's something more organizations should really adopt, because if you live in Lagos, the traffic in this city is ridiculous. If you spend 6 hours to go to the office, 6 hours to go back home, your productivity is going to actually drop just because you are commuting between Lagos to your house. So if you don't have to see anybody, it is best for your team to stay at home than to come to the office and waste hours on the road. That's my own perspective, really. You don't have to take it.
Okay, okay, I understand. So, sorry, I have to like go back a little around the product discovery area. Um, you talked about having like selecting a few people when maybe you have to work on a new product idea or a new feature on an existing product. How do you manage strong opinions from these people, knowing that you selected them yourself? They can have like a base understanding of what you're trying to achieve with the product, but how do you manage strong opinions when they do not align with yours? And do you also give room for the possibility that their opinions may make sense at that point? Like, is it something that you also consider, or the idea is in your head, like I'm the CEO and this is what we're going to work on? Are you going to accept strong opinions from people, like different direction altogether? That's what I mean by a strong opinion, because an
Yeah.
opinion about something can be like, oh yes, we're doing this, let's add this extra comma to make it nice. What if the person is saying, let us remove this whole thing and do this new thing? Like, how do you react to that?
So here's the thing about building anything. First of all, they said uh, you should only trust in God. Every other person must bring data. So it's only God that we only trust here. So if you have a very strong opinion, I hope you have it with some data. Like there's some data that you've sort of like collected, and you're making it clear to us that from this data, this is what I think everywhere is pointing to. And also, before you can come with a strong opinion, you sort of like, have you talked to the customers? Have you done customer interview? Like, and what are they telling you? Right. Like right now we are building a product that has to do with families, and my strong opinion is that when we're about to dissolve the relationship, the money should be split 50-50. And I did a simple stuff on Instagram and on Twitter. Everybody is saying, no, what is 50-50? It is by what you bring to the table that you should take away. So those are the type of things that you probably want to do, right? Where you sort of like really, really talk to customers and you have some data. So strong opinions are just strong opinions. You can be very assertive and still be wrong. And it's very, very important to know what you think and you are clear about it, because in products, it is very, very easy to climb the wrong hill. It is the easiest thing to climb the wrong hill. You can spend a lot of time, you can spend a lot of engineering time, you can spend a lot of dollars building the wrong product. You will lose momentum, you will lose money, you will lose time, you will waste everybody's effort. So if anybody is coming with a strong opinion, right, about how something should be built, about the direction of a particular product, they must come with data. They must be willing to share customer customer stories. They must be willing to say, I've spoken to 50 customers and this is what they are saying, this is what they want. Then I'm gonna listen to you. Otherwise, you are just making noise to me, really. Like you don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. Thank you very much. So from your former experience as a product manager and your experience now, how would you explain your or how would you how do I put this question? How do you go from launch to growth and then start scaling? What is your step by step process like? What are the things that you put in place for launch that would affect the growth of the product? What are the things that you put in place to ensure that the product is growing and is not just growing, is growing at a certain momentum? So, what are the things that you put in place to ensure the swift transition, like launch into growth and then further growth?
So I think the most important thing is when people are building product, they think it goes from design to engineering. So you've written your PRD, you've done all of the whole product work, and then the designer is working on a particular product. The instant the designer is working about a particular, the designer is going to pass the job to the engineering guys. What you must also do at that point is that the job, as they're passing to the engineers, they also need to pass that job to marketing for product launch. They must also need to package, send that pack that entire information. So the product is not just interfacing with the designer and engineering. The product is also should also be interfacing with the marketing team, right? So that they can start preparing the launch material. The product needs to start interfacing with the customer sources so that they can start preparing the FAQs. The product needs to start interfacing with the salespeople so that they can start doing some sort of like preparing the customers on that are willing to start looking to buy the product. So when you move from that stage where you get the product out to engineer and engineer says, you know what, we are good to go, we've done the entire thing. It goes back to what do you call it? The product team to do the QA, making sure that everything is good to go. And then check with the marketing team and say, hey, look, do you have the product launch materials? Do you have the what do you call it, the articles and all of these things? And then it goes to customer service, do you have the FAQs? And it goes to every other team like that and check with all the things they need. And then once you do that, the product manager pretty much is the person that should launch the business, that should launch the product. It's not the engineer. The engineer is just saying I'm done, right? And once you satisfy that you are ready and you're ready to go out, you can do like a pilot launch. If it's a very new product that you have some questions about, you are not very clear about how it might perform, you do like a pilot launch, right? You do a pilot launch, you test about 10 to 20 customers, they play with that particular product, you get the feedback that you need, you take it back to engineering, and then you do the final refinement. Once you think you are very ready, then you can do a full launch. And once you do a full launch, the marketing team now comes in to sort of like do the proper marketing campaigns, and then can go for your sales, and then start doing some investment in making sure that the product is successful. But beyond that, the other thing around this whole thing is that product does not really end after the launch, right? So your product has gone into the market right now. You need to collect data back from that product. You need to see how that product is performing. You launch the product called invoices. How many customers are now using invoices? Do you understand? Where are they using it for? What are they using it for? You need to collect this data. It is with this data that you now go back to engineering or go back to your design team to make the necessary refinement. Take all the feedbacks. There are things, because while you're building the product, you had a lot of assumptions in your head about how you think it should work. Now you go back to the designers and the engineers and say, hey, look, these were the things we thought about this product, but with about 50 customers, with about 100 customers, here are the things we learned. We need to do this, we need to do that. And then those feedback is what is going to be used in investing back into the product itself, and then we can push forward from there. And then we keep growing it. But it has to be data driven, it has to be, you can't just do it in the dark.
Okay, any specific information around the growth part? We've talked about like the launch, preparing for the launch, and what to do after the launch.
Yeah.
Maybe growth part, maybe like the first 6 months, the first 1 year, growth plans around that, like how do you manage that?
So yeah, I have actually done products for I have done products for enterprise, I've done products for consumer, I've done products for SaaS, fintech, and growth. The way you think about growth for these products is actually different. So I don't know, like I need to probably pick one. The way you think about growth for a consumer product is probably going to be different the way you think about it for an enterprise product. For enterprise, you probably want to do a hardcore sale. In fact, enterprise has different. If it's SME, if it is big enterprise, there are different ways to think about growth. So, which are you interested in?
Fintech.
So, fintech again, there are different kinds of fintech. There's a
Okay,
consumer fintech. There's a
just
consumer fintech.
anyone that you want to share with us, just go
Yeah,
ahead.
there's,
Share.
so
Choose
there are different kinds
anyone.
of fintech. So
Yeah,
you have to,
your past or your
you have,
present experience. Anyone.
yeah. So I'll pick consumer fintech and I'll talk about since I'm in fintech, I'll pick consumer fintech and I'll talk about enterprise fintech like the one I'm doing. So consumer fintech, like you see with the likes of Kuda, what you probably want to do is you have to be very aggressive in marketing because you are trying to really buy consumers. It's like they are really cheap. Consumers are very cheap people. So you can't be you can't I you don't want to hire salespeople to do consumer for you because the cost you have to watch out for your CAC and regular you and I are very we don't have money like that. So so for that, you do a lot of marketing, and then you probably want to sort of like think actively around your growth mechanics, things like referral, things like invite your friends, free transfers, a whole lot of growth mechanisms that you have to sort of like build inside the product itself. I don't know if you guys have read this book Hooked, or you do things like the way Clubhouse did it, where they sort of like they drove some sort of like exclusivity, and then they start asking you to invite people, right? Those those growth mechanics needs to be a part of the product itself because it's consumer, and it is that is the only way you can take it viral and you can really acquire a lot of consumers fast. But for enterprise, it is a whole lot different, right? For SMEs, first of all, SMEs might require you to hire a sales team. You probably will not be successful doing a lot of referral used with SMEs. So you probably have to go the direction of active, aggressive sales. If you are going for the bigger enterprises, in fact, you might not even need to do any marketing at all. So for small SMEs, you might do marketing and some sales. For bigger SMEs, for bigger corporates, forget about marketing. You just have to hire sales boys and just be killing it like that. So end of the day, it depends on the category of customers that you're trying to get. Um, Small ones, marketing and all these growth mechanics things inside the product, referrals and etc. For the bigger ones, it's going to be tilted towards sales. And while you're doing all of these things, you also need to sort of like apply some data mechanisms into making sure that you are doing well. Like you need to track it pretty much.
Okay, thank you. We're already 30 minutes in, but before we open the floor for people to ask questions, I would like to ask Shola again, is there anything you would like to add for us to know about these three different stages of building a product, from discovery stage to launch to growth? Is there any other thing you would like to add?
The one thing I would love to really add is this, right? And and I said it if you may, and if there's anything you get out of this for anyone, is that um, the easiest way to waste your time, um, to waste your money, to waste your resources is to build the wrong product. Is to build the wrong product, and it's always a very sad experience. It is frustrating. So whatever you have to do, make sure that you know what you're doing. Don't climb the wrong hill because you can spend 3, 4 years working on something and then you realize, oh shit, what have I been doing all my life? And it's very easy to miss the mark. So if there's anything that I think is most important is the product discovery, is a product discovery thing. And I've actually done it before. I've actually wasted my time, I've wasted my own money on the wrong product. So it's not something that like I've done it. I've wasted my own time before. So make sure that you are working on the right problem and you are solving it correctly. And once you figure that out, most other thing is going to fall in place. Most other things are going to fall in place. Like a whole lot of things becomes a lot easier once you are attacking the wrong problem, the right problem, and you are solving it correctly. Do you understand? So it's the discovery section that you need to sort of like really make sure that you figured out correctly, and then you can now deploy your resources.
Okay, thank you very much. That was a very good one. Thank you very much, Shola. So, if you have questions around what we're discussing this evening, you can just raise your hand and I'll call you to answer. So, I see Simi Simi has raised her hand. No, so you go after Simi. So Simi, go ahead.
Okay. Okay. Hi. Good evening, everyone. So my first question is trying to okay, to Shola. Do you have specific timelines for each phase of your product development process? So, are you saying, or would you assume, or would you suggest that for the discovery stage, this is the timeline: 2 weeks, 3 weeks for the development and building, 3 weeks. Oh, I know that development and engineering is not something that you can do as an individual. It's obviously not by command, but obviously by influence and collaborative effort. Then the post launch or launch and after launch, it's also timeline. That's my first question. Then my second question is when or during this process of testing, when the product has already been built and your QA is testing, is that when you would have already started conversations with other cross-functional teams outside of design and engineering, or you have already started a conversation from the point of your PRD and product brief build documents? Yeah, those are my two major questions.
All right, thank you. I think the first question is about timelines. I think it all boils down to your resources, really. If you're a big boy, you're a big boy. If you're broke, you're broke. So, if you have money, you can do. So, what money does for you is that money allows you to buy time, right? So, I think with different organization, you can squeeze time. You can build products faster if you hire more engineering time, if you hire more designers and things like that. So I don't think there's any. I don't think there's any fixed time. It's all dependent on the resources you have. It's also dependent on the kind of products you're building. Some products can come out faster than some. Some products might take a year, 2 years to build, and some you can do in 3 weeks, 1 month. You can quickly test the product and get it out of the way. Um, that's number one. Number two is around talking to the other teams when you're trying to launch. The way you want to think about it is the engineer, the designer, and think about the design engineering as important as marketing and customer success. So when you are the day you give the work as a product manager, the day you talk to designers and the engineers about what you want to build, right? And they've agreed that they're going to build that particular stuff, and they've given you a timeline on when they will start and when they will push it, be done with it. That's the same time you should start talking to your marketing team, because they are not magicians. They need to sort of like really prepare the materials that they need also to launch that particular stuff. That's the same time you need to start talking to customer success to look at the screens and start preparing the FAQs that they might need, or start sort of like figuring out what it's going to look like for the customers. Do you understand? So it is not, you don't leave other teams hanging and then 2 days to the teams to the product to go live, then you let them know that, hey, look, we are launching a product tomorrow. It's going to really look back on them, and they're going to be very ineffective. So you don't want to do that. That is the way we do it at Brass, by the way. We talk to when it goes to engineering, Tammy needs to start preparing our things, and Jacob needs to start customer success FAQ as well.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much.
Uh,
All right. Thank you. No, so please.
Okay. Hi, Shola. Good afternoon. Good evening. Sorry. I just have two questions. So
whatever.
first question is that currently the dynamics of products marketing has changed. COVID-19 accelerated a lot of things. Elon Musk said something. He said products sell itself. Like a good product knows how to sell itself. So do you believe that? Because for example, you have Tesla. Tesla don't have budget for their marketing. They feel that the product is dope enough and it sells itself. So do you believe that? And also, do you believe in aggressive marketing, like shoving product down the face of people? So that's my first question. Second question is about policies in Nigeria. This current administration is a very unique one, whereby they wake up today and they ban something and they change policy. So, how do you you owning a business, how do you like sit with that regarding change of policies, especially in the banking and finance sector? And do you also think there's an opportunity, because in the midst of chaos, people always say in the midst of chaos there's an opportunity for growth, there's opportunity for success and stuff like. So how do you see that? Those are my questions.
So number one, it's on marketing. I think, I mean, I am a big fan of Elon Musk. I love that guy. I think it's actually a philosophical question, really, right? Um, and I think he's not totally honest when he says, um, what do you call it? Tesla does have a marketing budget. Elon Musk is literally an influencer on Twitter. Literally, he's an influencer. He talks a lot. He tweets almost every 10 minutes. Like that guy tweets a lot. So he's always talking about Tesla. And he also, Tesla is a fantastic product, and it's in a category, it's getting the like, kind of interest that it needs to get. So in itself, it does the job for the company. But I I don't think it's always the case. And a good case is Apple. Apple is very, very aggressive with marketing. They spend billions of naira on marketing. But Apple makes the best smartphones in the world. And they make the best smartphones, they make the best computers in the world, but they are still very aggressive with the marketing. They have a ridiculous budget on it. If you go to Times Square today in New York, you will see Apple on the biggest billboards and everywhere. You see it on big magazines. They spend ridiculous amount of money. So I think it depends on what you want to do on your philosophy. I think it's purely a thing of it depends on you really, but I don't think you should ever don't gamble on that. If you have a great product, you need to sell it. You need to push it out there. Otherwise, it's like you blinking in the dark if you have a great product and nobody knows about it. So you need to think about that really very importantly. Like you need to push a product. Number two is around regulations and how to manage it in Nigeria and if there's opportunity. Nigeria has a political risk. That's the truth. If I were not to be in Nigeria, I would probably not do business in Nigeria. And I'm serious. Nigeria is the problem with the country is that there's too much randomness. Everybody just moves on vibes and inshallah, like things just run on their own. So I don't see an opportunity in that thing, especially when there's randomness. The only way you can see opportunity in something is if that thing is predictable. There's nothing predictable about Nigeria. So even in the old chaos needs to be predictable for you to be able to sort of like track it and build around it and have an opportunity out of that stuff. So I don't see an opportunity in that, and I think people are just moving mad. But the only thing you can take out of it is that for a kind of business that is very regulated, it gives you a barrier to entry. It raises the barrier to entry for a lot of competition. So you know that the moment you have a bank license to able to buy a bank, you know that every other person cannot just compete with you because that is a requirement. So other than that, there's nothing good about the regulatory randomness. I'm not saying it shouldn't be regulated. I'm just saying the randomness, the unpredictability of the whole thing makes it just a problem. It's a risk of it, and it's a risk in itself.
Okay, thanks.
All
Yeah,
right,
thank you
thank
very much.
you. Fikayo, please. Please be fast about it. If you have three questions, put them in one, please. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Hi, Shola. Thanks for taking this time out. So, while you were speaking, you spoke a lot about building the wrong products. It seems like it's something I'm very passionate about. I think that's also what every company and product manager is trying to avoid. I think the problem. I think what I've actually my question to you is, I think most people have false points, especially have been building the wrong thing. So, as a product manager or as an organization, what are the things you should look out for? Especially when you have like false starts, when you have people downloading or like when you have people engaging, even though you just like basically how do you watch out for false starts, and make sure that even though you build the wrong thing and get some level of traction, you can set your path right. That's my question.
One weird thing you can do, ask them for money. Just ask them for money to pay for that thing. It's very strange, right? You just need, just ask them for money. Like, you know what? Put a pricing page and say this is going to cost you 10,000 and see if anyone's going to pay for it. Most people just use your product because they think because they like your face, yeah, like they like you. Like, oh, I like Shola, let me just download this app. But that might not actually be a good way to sort of like see the thing. But I mean, I also think, I also think, um, being the right product is like, I think it's like dating. Sometimes you will know if you have the right person. You can feel it. You can just feel it like, nah, this thing is, unless you want to scam yourself. You can always feel it. There's always that feeling that this is, I think we're on the wrong track. People will call you and say, you know what, I love your product. I want to use it. I really care about it. People you don't know will actually reach out to you. If it's just within your friends and family, you can still think maybe they just like you. They're just trying to support you. But once it goes outside of your regular network and it goes out there, you can feel it. You can feel that, oh, I have the right thing. And it's literally, like I said, it's like dating. It's like when you have the right woman, you can just tell that I think this baby is the one. I don't know what I'm saying, but I think she's the one. Similar to your brother as well. You know, I know that it's almost there's no science to that. I'm just, but I think you get my point, or don't you? Fikayo?
Fikayo, do you get
Yeah,
it?
yeah. I was hoping for a more. I mean, the pricing thing is a very good
Yeah,
answer, I think. But yeah,
if
I
you
was
ask for
looking
more,
for a more solid type of
im-
statistics kind of question. I don't know.
no, no,
Data.
no, like no, like I don't think there's anything like that. I think there's no way. The defined method you probably want to test sometimes is to ask for money. When you ask for money for something, when you build something, you actually ask for money. That might not be your, what they call it, your business model. You can just ask for money to see if it's actually in need. People will pay for something that solves their problem. So you can use that to sort of like test the waters with them, you know. But I don't think I don't, or I don't know what I'm talking about. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about really.
I think the money thing is satisfactory.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Ario, hello, are you there? Um, if you're not there, hello, Ario, can you hear me? Okay, if you're not there, Bridget, please ask your question now.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you again, Shola, for coming. I kind of joined the call late, but I heard the part when you're talking about solving the right problems and how you build a lot of like wrong products. So I was having like a discussion with a director of an operation one time, and I made mention of identifying the right problems to actually profile solutions for. And she was like, is there anything like right problems? That problems and problems. So I was like, I tend to disagree because I believe that there are some there's right problems. And hearing you talk about made mention of it, right problems. So I wanted you to like define or what would you say are the right problems? If to say, okay, if we're like on the same page, on my understanding of right problems.
Yeah. So number one is it's intersection of a few things. Um, Number one is competition is for losers. Competition is for losers. You don't want to build the 10th or the 20th Kuda bank. You don't want to do that. Um, that's the wrong problem. So what I'm saying is you are trying to build a business that you believe can become a monopoly in its own category, right? And you believe that you have the expertise and the resources, and you have a very unique insight on how to become a monopoly in that particular category. That's number one. But that's not just enough. You don't want to be a monopoly in selling pure water. You want to be a monopoly in a category that exposes you to the greatest value, right? Where you can extract the most value. Like you want to go after a big fish, not not tilapia. You are going after something bigger. Like you're not trying to play around. So those are the things you need to think about when you are trying to embark on any venture. But then again, everybody's ambition is different. Not everybody is trying to build a $10 billion company. So it's also very possible you are just interested in building a very regular business that solves a basic problem that can make you, I don't know, maybe $500,000 a year, and that is good enough for you, and that is decent, right? So then again, you can go after like a basic problem, a small problem, and then you can attack it and you can build in a very fairly competitive market and make good money. But if you are going after something, if you have like really, really ambitious and you want to build a very, very big business, you have to go after some place where you believe that you can be monopolistic, right? Where you can build a monopoly, and also monopoly in the right thing, right? Monopoly in an industry where you believe you can extract the most value out of what you're trying to, out of your customers and the market. So of course there's a right problem, there's a wrong problem. A good way is that I actually spent a few years ago, myself and my current co-founder, we spent about 2 years trying to build an HR software for businesses, and we're trying to build payroll and all of those type of things. There's a long story behind that, but it was the wrong problem that we're solving, and we wasted our money, we wasted our time. Do you understand? So that about that.
All right. Thank you. So not to waste too much of time, because when she said that, I told her that to me, the way I define the right problems are problems that not just solve a particular problem, but end up solving something that the users does not really know that they have. Like case in point, like when Ford was talking about, if we ask them what do they need, they say a faster horse, and they thought about getting a car. So car in that sense might be easier for people to like convey or go to destination faster, but indirectly that car can also solve a problem in transportation of goods and other stuff, not just conveying humans. So that was the way I like looked at right problems from my own point of view. Yeah, thank you, Sola.
I think you're wrong, actually. If you
Okay.
don't mind. When Ford was talking about that, it wasn't talking about, it was more like a product discovery type of thing where if I asked people for what they wanted, they will have said, uh,
Yeah.
uh, they will have said the faster hours, why they needed it. So when you talk to your customers, right, your customer says they want faster house, but you went on to go and build a car. When your customers don't want a faster house, what the customers are actually saying is they want speed. Speed is
Yeah.
what matters to them. So the whole point of that quote is more around having the ability to know how to listen to your customers. So they can tell you that they want this particular thing, but that is not the problem they really. So you can just sort of like be able to filter out the right message from your customers. So those customers wanted speed. So faster hours gives you speed, but do you know what they also do? You know what also gives speed? An actual car.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
that's
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. I'm just saying that apart from car giving them speed, like car does not also like solve some other basic needs that maybe they might not have identified at that particular point in time.
yeah. So a after lunch. Okay, yes, that's true.
Yeah,
So
thanks. Thanks, Sean.
think I
Bridget, are
really
you done with the question?
Yes, I am,
I
Princess.
think Aria is trying to ask a question. So Aria, you have to pick one question because we have just 7 minutes, and we want Shola to just help us and answer. Oh, Shagun has a question as well. Okay, Aria, please just pick one question and be quick with it, please. Thank you. Or should I just read from the chat? Which one are you choosing? Or you can just go ahead and speak. Can you hear? Okay, let me just go to he has
Yeah,
asked like
I think you can just read the
oh
question instead. Yes.
yeah, he has to pick one. Which one should Shola answer, please? He can answer only one right now. Please. The second one. A year
Oh,
after launch, there is a problem that requires an overhaul of the product or revamping. How do you manage such crisis?
okay. I wouldn't call it a crisis in itself, really. When you build a product out there, when you push a new product out there, you go through what I call a product market fit. And before launch, you've spoken to your customers and you've formed your assumptions. You have like, oh, I think they want this, I think they want that, I think they want this other thing. And then you push the product to the market. What you get from your customers in the first 6 months will be feedback. Oh, I don't like the way this works. I don't like the way your body is working right now. I don't like this, I don't like that, I don't like that. All of these feedbacks are what you take back to your team and say, you know what, guys, let's face it. We are wrong here, we are right here, we are wrong there. Let us correct these things. And that was what we went through from, I think, November to about May. During that period, we still had a lot of customers saying great things about us. And while all of this was going on, we were revamping the entire product experience. And we were still getting customers saying, oh, I love your product. I love what you guys are doing. This is fantastic. In fact, at some point, it felt like they were lying to us, but like, this thing sucks. This thing sucks. What is it you like about this product? But we knew at the same time that there were a lot of things we need to improve to make it a lot better. And that's what we actually did. So when you launch a new product, that is the most important time for you to listen very, very attentively to your customers on that particular product, because you launch that product with a set of assumptions. You launch that product with some ideas in your head. Now, those ideas needs to be corrected. And you need to get those feedback, you need to note them down. And then when you have all those feedbacks, then you have to take it back to your team and say, guys, these are the feedback in the past 3, 4 months. Let us act on this feedback. And that is what is most people never do it, and they end up with mediocre product, or they end up forcing a bad product on their customers, not out of user experience or even engineering. It's just a bad product because it's just not perfect. It's just not 100% correct, and you don't want that. So that's it.
Okay. Thank you so much, Shola. We'll not be able to take any more questions in case anyone has a question. But I don't know how kind Shola will be in case you want to ask him questions separately, like out of this platform. He may or may not respond, but you can try to ask a question. But we have to end now because we have just 3 minutes remaining. Again, thank you all for joining today. And thank you very much, Shola, for sharing with us. There's some very, very good points, like a lot of good points you made. And I know that some of them you're talking to me. I have taken those ones. Thank you very much for sharing with us today again. We really appreciate your time, and we hope that people on the call as well have learned a lot, especially people who had questions, have their questions answered. Thank you guys for today again. Shola, do you have any last words to say before we go?
Don't climb the wrong hill. That's the only thing. Don't waste your time building the wrong product. That's the only thing you should take it. Whatever you
Yeah.
do, don't be the wrong hill.
Okay. Thank you. We will not forget. Don't climb the wrong hill. Don't build the wrong product. What's the last one? Something about don't solve the wrong problem or something like that.
All right, guys. Thank you very much for the
But
time.
yeah,
I have to bounce now.
we get the
It's been a
point.
long day.
Thank you very much again, Shola. All right. No problem.
Bye,
Rest well.
everyone.
Thank you. Yeah, bye.